Good afternoon, everyone. This is Neeraj Anand. Today, I'm going to present my BTech project work that I have done under the supervision of Dr. Shankar Manoharan sir. I have done this project along with my project partner Weber, who is from electrical department. In this project, we were required to design and develop an app to collect and analyze the nutritional data, and our target audience was Rajasthan people. Let's first try to understand that why we were required this particular app. So like we were required to analyze and collect the nutritional data, and this is basically done usually by nutritionists, or you can say doctors, using semi-quantitative FFQs, which is basically a type of survey which is used to assess an individual's usual intake of various types of foods or beverages over a specified period of time on pen and paper. So in simple words, nutritionist ask a patient that did you consume this particular food item in the past 1 month, and the patient can answer the questions, and the nutritionist notes down this on pen and paper and further do the analysis. So this is what the FFQ is. So basically now you know what an FFQ is. So let's try to understand what are the challenges or the limitation with this pen and paper method. So we can say first challenge, we can say that it would be very hard to keep track of every user on pen and paper basis. Second, we can say the inaccuracy with the data. It would be very difficult for individuals to accurately recall and record their food intake over a long period of time, which can definitely lead to potential errors in the data. The third limitation we can have is time consumption. Completing a pen and paper based FFQ can be quite time consuming for both the individual completing the questionnaire and the researcher who is collecting the data as well. And the fourth and the most important limitation in this method is basically the limitation with the analysis. As a nutritionist, first we were required to convert the data in the digital format, and only further we can have some analysis using some other softwares. So we have such limitations with this existing method. So because of these limitations, we definitely need an app that can solve both nutritionist as well as patient's problem. So here are the deliverables that we targeted to complete for our project. First is the way in which we can take the responses for our FFQ. Second was designing and implementation of a fully managed database where we can store our nutritionist as well as our users data. The third deliverable was the analysis through which a nutritionist will understand easily that what the user has filled in FFQ, and a nutritionist can also be having a digital format of responses, maybe in the CSV format. And the last and the most important deliverable was for our app was the better user experience for both patients and nutritionist perspective. So now let's talk about the tech stack that we used for our app. So first we have Whimsical that we used for designing the UI components for our app. The second was Flutter, which we used to develop and implement our complete app. The third tech stack here we mentioned is Firebase, which we used for different types of oaths, mainly Google Oath as well as Phone Oath. Then we also used Cloud Firestore as our database for our app, for storing users as well as nutritionist data. And the last, we used GitHub for maintaining our complete code base. So before having a demo for our app, let's have a clear idea for the three main users for our app based on privileges. So the first user is basically a patient who will be given a study ID from a nutritionist. So like a patient cannot directly log into our app. He or she will require a study ID for it, and a nutritionist will give that study ID to him. And once he will be having that study ID, he can log into our app. So the second user is nutritionist itself, who will have the privilege to access all those patients' data who are enrolled for a given study ID in which that nutritionist is conducting the survey. And of course, a nutritionist will also require some type of oath before login to our app. So that oath will be given to him or her by the super admin, which is the third main user of our app. And as a super admin, they can give the access to the nutritionist for a given study ID. They can also create new studies and can access all the users' data independent of any study ID. So now we know what are the main three user scenario for our app. So let's talk about the flow of our app as a patient. So if I'm a patient, I would be seeing these onboarding screens if I start the app. I can just go through that what exactly this app is. Then I can tap on login as a patient. I can enter the study ID. It will check that if this study ID is valid or not. If it is not valid, I won't be able to log in. If it is valid, I would be able to log in with my phone number. So I will require to add my phone number, and then OTP will be sent to my phone number for verification. So here basically Firebase is checking that the user is not a robot. And once that would be done, we can enter the OTP that will be sent to the entered phone number. And once we will be verifying that, we should be able to log into our app. So here you can see the user dashboard. As a patient, I can edit my profile. I can change these settings. These settings will be quite useful in filling FFQ. We will see that. So before filling FFQ, I will be required to fill all these details. So these details are quite necessary for conducting a survey for a nutritionist. So a patient has to fill in all these details before filling FFQ. Once that will get filled, I should be able to fill the FFQ. So first as a patient, I have to go through the instructions that, okay, what type of question will be asked to me and how I can answer those questions. If if I would be able to recall that food item is consumed by me, then further what question will be asked to me, and what type of references of portion sizes, measurements we will be referring to. So these are all the instructions. And once the user will tap that, okay, I have understood the instruction, I can proceed to FFQ.
Consider the category cereals and millets.
So this is how one category gets started.
Did you eat whole wheat flour vegetable in the past 1 month?
And one by one we are going through the food item in that category.
Did you eat upma in the past 1 month? How often did you eat upma in the past 1 month? How many katoris of upma did you eat in the past 1 month?
Thus, a patient can fill in on these food items details and can submit the data. And at the back end, we will send the data to the doctor for that particular study ID. Now let's try to check Hindi prompts. So these were the settings that I shown at the initial level in the profile settings tab. So a user can just disable these audio prompts, as well as they can change the language as per their own preference. Then let's try to check the flow of our app as an admin. So as an admin, I will require to enter the study ID in which I am registered. So first we will check at the backend that the study ID exists or not. If it doesn't exist, we will ask the admin that please enter some of the few details and request for admin access to super admin. An admin have to fill in all these details, and they can request for admin access by tapping this button. Now this user won't be able to log in because it is not registered already. Now let's try to check an admin who is registered already with a particular given study ID. So they can enter the correct study ID in which they are registered. At the backend, we will check whether the study ID is correct or not, and whether the admin is registered in that or not. If it is fine at the backend, we will just let him log in using that Gmail ID. And once that will get verified, he will be redirected to the admin dashboard. So here you can see, here are all those patients who have been registered in that study ID. So as an admin, I can access their data. For example, if I check Vaibhav's data, so here I can see some of the few details, and I can see FFQ is not submitted. Let's try to check Neeraj's data. He has filled in the FFQ already. Now I can download his data, his responses in the CSV format. That what type of responses he has filled in, what type, how he has answered all those questions. Once that will be fine, I can also see the visual. I can also see the data in the visual forms, like the top 5 frequently consumed food items by Neeraj, the least 5 frequently consumed food items by Neeraj, and across the category, here I can see what type of food items he has consumed. So these are the privilege of an admin. They can access the data and they can also approve that okay, now let this user allow to see his data. Otherwise we will not approve, like we will not show this data to user. So here we have the option of approving it. So now let's try to check our app as a super admin. So let's try to, so as a super admin I can log in. If I'm registered as a super admin, I would be having a different dashboard with respect to admin. So I would be having this type of dashboard where I can access all those patients data. I can have this active request. So these requests are sent by these users who want to enroll in as an admin in for some particular study ID. I can access Vaibhav Meenan's data. So basically here the details have been provided and he wants to enroll in this particular study ID ADDIM03. So I can reject or approve as a super admin. Similarly, I can access others data as well. I can see the existing studies. I can create a new study and I can provide this study to a admin and I can tell them, okay, please conduct a survey for this particular study ID as a super admin. So these are all the privileges for a super admin. So in this way, we implemented our complete app in these different phases. We have like at the initial phase, we understood the requirements. In the second idea exploration phase, we concluded tech stack and design our app. In the programming phase, we implemented front end, back end, and the database logic. And in the final testing phase, we tested our app on some of the users at IITJ who are from Jodhpur or Rajasthan specifically. Yeah, that's all from my side. Let me know your feedback or questions. Thank you.